like output from our Django web project, we can host it in render very easily. So before we host it in render, first we need to put our project in GitHub. So first we will see some of the Git and GitHub commands before we actually host it in render. So let me come back to my project. So this is my project. My project name is my Django host and our app name is my app. So this is the output which we got, just a hello world. So as you can see here, we have home.html which renders. So this we have seen in the previous video. Now let's try to host it. So before we host it, first we need to create a repository out of it. So I'll be using few of the git commands to create the repository and then connect to the remote repository in GitHub and later host it in render. So first create a repository. So to create a repository, we have the command git init. So this will create the repository for the project my Django host. So it has initialized the repository. So now we need to follow a few commands so that there are some, it will be ready for connecting to the remote repository. So git space add space dot and git commit -m initial commit, or you can write anything just to mention what you're doing here. So and you can press enter. So it is making it ready to be pushed to the remote repository. So I'll also be connecting to the branch main. So git branch -m main, and so now let us connect to the, so this is the in local repository. This is within my laptop where I created the repository. Now let us go to the remote repository. So I'll be using my, so this is my account and here I'll be creating a new repository. So go to new and name the repository same as our project. So our project name was my Django host. So I'll be using the same name. For example, this was our name of the project, my Django host. So let's use the same. So my Django host. Okay, and it's a public repository. You can add a readme file if you want. So just create the repository. So once we create the repository, we get this link. This is very important. So we need to copy, and also a lot of instructions are given. These are the instructions which we were following earlier to initialize the repository and to create a branch. And these are the two steps which are left. So let us do these two steps so that we can connect our local repository to the remote repository. So let's now go to our terminal. So here let's type this command git remote add origin, and you can paste the link which we have copied. So this was the link, and you can use .git. So you are currently connecting, so that the remote repository to the local repository. So the remote repository link is given here, and we are trying to connect our local repository to it. So let's do this. So now few more commands, which is to push git push -u origin. So this -u we do it for the first time, later we don't need it. So git push -u origin. So it has pushed all the changes which are there in the local to the remote repository. That can be verified by going to the project, and as of now there is nothing in this repository, but you just refresh this, you can be able to see all the files which we had in our project. So all the files got pushed from local repository to the remote repository. So we are able to successfully push it, and whenever we make any changes to our project, there are few commands which we can run so that we can push it. So git space add space dot git commit -m and the comment, and git push origin main. If we run these 3 commands, anytime whatever changes we make in the local repository can be pushed to the remote repository. Now since our GitHub is ready, let's now see how we can host this web project in Render. So to do that, there are few more things which we need to do in the projects. So let's go to our project. Here we need to have a file called as requirements.txt to actually list out all the packages which we are using. So for that we need to do something like this: pip3 freeze and freeze into requirements.txt. So freeze, you are trying to put all the packages which are necessary for this particular project into requirements.txt. So when you run this, it will create a new file called as requirements.txt. So as you can see, these are the things which are necessary, but we should also include one more thing, unicorn. You can mention the package. I might be using little older one, but you can also experiment with the latest one. So save this, and once we are done, you can just close this. And so since we made some changes, we need to push these changes from local repository to the remote repository. To do that, as I said, git space add space dot git commit -m first change, or you can write anything here inside the commit. So and git push origin main. So as you can observe, I am not using -u here because it's only needed for the very first time. Git push origin main. So all these changes, requirements.txt, all those changes are pushed here. As of now it is not there because I did not refresh. Once I refresh, we can see clearly there is a requirements.txt file which appears here. So as you can see here, so all the things whatever we have done, it is getting pushed here. So once we are done this, so now we are almost ready. Okay, there are few more things to be done. Let's go to our project, and in the settings we have to mention the allowed host. We have to change the allowed host. So here there is something called as allowed host. So here you need to enter what is the URL name which you are going to have for your project. So usually I'm calling it as my Django, and it ends with something like this, on render.com. so this is the name which I want to give. And also the local host one, also we place it here, 127.0.0.1 in the single quotes, and you can just save this. So that's it, we are ready, and these changes also should be pushed once again. So let me do this. So git add dot git commit -m first change or second change, whatever, and git push origin main. So you can now once again verify, go to refresh this thing, and you can just go to your project. You can have settings.py, and now you can see here in the allowed host whatever we have written, we are able to observe very clearly. So that's the thing, this, and we have to use this name when we host it in Render. So let's see how to do that. So first type Render in Google and just go to render platform, render.com. Here we can go to get started for free. So click on it, and you can either create an account or link it to your GitHub account. So click on GitHub. So it asks for return to dashboard. So I have already logged in. So this is what it shows. So go to new and create a web service. So here you have options to do various things, even PostgreSQL and a static site, and I'm clicking on a web service. So here you go to a public Git repository, and so you can just copy the repository name. So my Django host, I'll just click on this, and go to repositories. So this is the repository. So just copy this link and paste it here, and you can connect to it. So once you are connect to it, it will ask for a unique name. So this is where you need to give the title. So I'll give the title which I mentioned in the allowed host. So I mentioned it as my Django. So just to show that in the allowed host we mentioned myDjango.onrender.com. So this my Django name is what I want to use it here. Languages Python 3, and root directory pip install -r requirements.txt. This we have already in our project. As you can see here, we have already have requirements.txt, which mentions all the necessary packages which it uses. And unicorn, here you can mention your project name. So here it is my Django host.wsgi. So here this is where, if you see in my Django host, I have a file called as wsgi. So this is needed while we host the project. So I'm mentioning here unicorn my Django host. We should maintain the spelling, everything fine, and wsgi. So once we are done, I want to make it a free service. I don't want to have any pro subscriptions. And once we are done this, you can just deploy web service. So it takes some time, or if there is any errors, it will throw out errors here which we need to resolve. Let's see if there is any error. As you can see here, it is trying to build. Build successful. It's a very simple project. We are just doing hello world, so it doesn't take much time. Sometimes we might have a big project which includes databases, various number of HTML pages. It might take huge time. As you can see, it says live, but it is also saying some errors. So let's try to resolve that. What is that error? So it is saying deploying build successful, fine. So let's see what happens. So it is saying it is live. So let's click on this my Django -gfes.onrender.com. So the problem is, this is the name which we actually need to keep in our file, but so this should match with what we have placed in allowed host. So let's so it is trying to build the project. I have changed the name to my Django 1. So as you can see, the link name is also now my Django1.onrender.com. So as you can see here in the settings.py, we placed it as the allowed hosts as my Django1.onrender.com. This happened because in our local folder I made the change. So let's see how it responds. So currently the project is in progress. Now it says it is live. So let's see whether it is working or not. So let's click on this link As you can see, this is the output, and this is where our project is hosted, my Django one.onrender.com. So in this way we can host any Django project to render. The only intermediate thing which we need to do is first we need to push our repository, which local repository, to the GitHub, and once we have a repository in GitHub, we can directly link to render and host our application. So thank you so much for listening this video.